Welcome to Get to Know with me, Morgan Williams. I've been in the creative industry for over a decade and meet people in different roles every day. But here's my secret. I don't always know what it is they actually do. So here I am getting to know. Each week, I sit down with industry insiders, learning what it is they actually do all day long. Whether you're trying to break into the industry, feeling a little bit lost, or just plain curious, Get to Know is here to dish out creative career insights and advice. So let's dive right into this episode. Today, I'm joined by fashion and celebrity photographer Owen Vincent, who is also the editor-in-chief and founder of Revamp Magazine. I'm really excited to catch up with Owen today, as we met when we were both starting out in our careers assisting photographer Leigh Kiley. Since then, Owen has gone on to build his career in celebrity portraiture, photographing some of the most well-known faces in the UK, including G.K. Barry, King of the Jungle Sam Thompson, radio stars Vicky Nope and Jordan North. The list goes on and on. Today, he tells me about how he got in touch with the stars to secure shoots with the likes of Sugababes and Blue, why he started Revamp Magazine, and using Instagram for networking. If you're an aspiring photographer, you won't want to miss this one. Thanks for joining me on the pod.
Thank you.
So to kick things off, could you just introduce yourself and what it is that you actually do?
Okay, so my name is Owen James Vincent, but people call me Owen, and I am a celebrity portrait, fashion and beauty photographer based in London, and I'm also an editor-in-chief of a magazine called Revamp.
Which is amazing. I don't know how you have enough time in the day to fit all of that in, to be honest.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Come on to all of that after. I kind of want to take it back a little bit to talk about how you've got into the industry in the first place, because we know each other from, I think it's around 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
Because we obviously assisted the same photographer, and then you assisted me a little bit on some of my shoots back in the day. So can we talk about maybe even pre-assisting? Did you study at uni and then went on to assisting? How did you break into the industry?
So I'll start from the very beginning. I went to sixth form. I can't remember how sixth form worked, but I think it was just 3 subjects, wasn't it, that we got to study?
Yeah.
And I remember it was business. Don't know why I picked business, because I was rubbish. The other one was media, and then the last one was photography.
Nice.
And I studied photography in A level, and I don't know, I think at the beginning I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I just remember just thinking, I love looking at photographs, I love album covers, I love magazines, I want to take photos and just have fun with it.
Yeah. Was it kind of like your fun subject when you started off? You just
definitely
what it was about, learn a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I was 16 at the time, and
you don't know what you're going to do at that point in life, do you?
Exactly, and so I was just like, I was just using the photography degree, A level degree, as just to have fun, really, and just all that kind of stuff. But my photography back then was just so different. It was awful.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I've got friends that I'm still friends with from school, and they always say, "Owen, do you remember your photography back then?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It was just bad. And then around A levels, I got to meet my boyfriend, Ben, because we're from the same area, but Ben is a few years older than me. And Ben was already at Bath Spa University.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Owen, why don't you move to Bath, live with me, and go to university in Bath?" And I was like, "Do you know what? Yeah." I was so madly in love with Ben. And that's when I studied digital design. So it was graphic design with photography. And it was it was a foundation course, and it ran for 2 years. And at the end of it, you get like half of a degree,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah.
And so, I was learning more about photography and what I wanted to do. And then when that finished, when I finished year 2, I graduated with a 2-1, but that was only half of a degree.
Right.
So my course leader was like, if you want a full degree, you're going to have to go into 3rd year and pick either just graphic design or photography.
Okay.
So I obviously picked photography, and I basically got a full degree out of it.
Hmm.
And so I graduated with a full degree. And then I was like, okay, like Bath is a gorgeous city. It's great for like wedding photography and tourist photography. But what I wanted to do was photograph people from TV and film
Hmm.
and music.
It's really interesting that you knew kind of your little niche that early on.
Yeah, I've always been inspired by album covers.
Yeah.
And I think like growing up, I basically just loved it when, you would see an album cover and listen to the music at the same time, and it just works really well.
Yeah.
You
Agree.
know, a good example is like Adele. All of Adele's album covers are either black and white, really close up on the face, looking really sad or
Yeah.
serious,
Moody. Yeah, exactly.
movie, and it would go really well with her music. And
Hmm.
I just loved it. And me being a massive fan of like girl groups,
Yeah.
seeing like, let's say the Sugababes with their album covers and Girls Aloud, it was so out there and poppy, and it went well with their music, and I just loved it. So I knew that I wanted to stay in that kind of industry.
Mhm.
So yeah, when I graduated, I moved to London
Yeah.
in like
Kind of where you
20.
had to go then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was London. London's the place to be
Hmm.
for that kind of photography. I just knew that I wouldn't have been able to do that kind of stuff in Bath. And Bath was such a great place to become independent. I'm from like a really small town in the countryside, so Bath was sort of like a step up,
Hmm.
living in a city.
I see,
And
like,
now it's just like I'm living in London now, which is a really big city. And then yeah,
kind of all gone from there. So, how did you get your first assisting jobs then? Was it when you actually moved to London that you pursued those, or did you have any lined up when you moved here?
when I moved here, I had no idea what I was doing. I remember the first 2 weeks living in London, I felt like I was on holiday.
Yeah.
And then I think I was researching maybe on LinkedIn, but I found a website called Fashion Worky,
Yeah.
and that's how I saw all these jobs come up for assisting.
Yeah. I used to use Fashion Worky. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. Really, really good. I don't know if it's still around.
I think it is actually.
Yeah, it was really good. So I looked on there, and I just saw photographers saying, oh, looking for an intern for a month, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I think I emailed mostly everyone on that website.
Brilliant.
And I just thought, I'll just see what happens.
Yeah. Amazing.
So yeah, and luckily one or two people got back to me. And
That's
then,
great. What kind
yeah.
of thing did you email them saying? Because I think that's partly what holds people back. They don't know how to
Mm,
approach,
mm.
people perceivingly big in the industry. So yeah, what did you say to them to try and get on board?
I remember my CV. I remember showing bits of my photography of what I can do. And back then, I was doing a lot of beauty, like makeup photography.
Yeah.
And so I added that onto my CV to make it stand out. I also put my name, and then I remember like putting my like degree and the A levels, and I can't remember if I put anything else. Maybe I mentioned like the exhibitions I did
Hmm.
during university, but that was it really, because again, I didn't have much experience.
Yeah, you're just looking for that experience at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, but also now thinking about it, I just had a flashback. I remember my mum helping me a
Hmm.
lot, and my mum got me in contact with a photographer who lived like down the road from her, and his name's David Nealons. He's an amazing guy. I don't think he does photography anymore, but he got me to be his assistant on a couple of photo shoots, and it was really fun because then I got to learn about, working for like taking photos for a magazine. um, I remember the shoot. It wasn't like anything crazy. It was just like a sort of like fake bridal wedding photo
Right.
shoot.
That's quite interesting to assist.
Yeah, so there
Yeah.
was like two models, and they were pretending to be a bride and a groom,
Yeah.
and it was for that magazine. And I just remember helping David out with that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then while you were assisting, what kind of things were you involved with? So actually, like on a shoot day, you'd help set up, I assume, and
mhm.
like, just what other kind of things did they get you to do, like on shoot days and then also on
Yeah.
prep days?
Okay, so with David, I remember being really nervous because it was my first time being on set. And I
Uh,
remember he picked me up from my house, and I remember dressing really like nice and everything.
yeah, yeah.
And, he was just like in a t shirt and jeans. And I looked very like, smart casual next to him.
Was it kind of
Taking,
like job interviewee trying
God,
to?
yeah. Yeah. And, I kept on saying to him, like, "Oh, I'm so nervous. Like, I've never done this before." And he was like, "Owen, chill."
How
It's,
old were you at this point?
God, I was like 16,
Okay.
15, 16.
Yeah.
So I was very nervous. And then we got to the location, really gorgeous manor house in Cheltenham.
Oh, lovely.
And I got to meet the makeup artist and then the models. And then I remember David showing me his camera and telling me stuff about it. And then I just remember that we were shooting with a lot of natural light,
Mhm.
and so he would ask me to hold the reflector,
Mhm.
and like he would teach me where the light was and all that kind of stuff. And then we went to go and shoot outside, and again, really gorgeous grounds of like green grass and trees and everything. And I remember he was like asking me to hold the veil, and then he'll do a countdown. And when it got to 3,
Rough.
yeah, I would literally just let go of it.
Yeah.
And so it was stuff like that, and it was really cool. And the outcome was just, I still remember it was so gorgeous to
Yeah.
see.
Nice. No, that's really good experience. So, who did you assist after David?
After David, I think it was Leigh.
Oh, okay. And then
So
that was all kind of celebrity portraiture, a little bit of fashion thrown in there as well.
yeah.
So I remember when I assisted Leigh, he got me involved in like quite a varied, range of things. Like there was all kind of research pre-photo shoot, and
Hmm.
then kind of, prepping, a little bit of mood boarding, like finding locations if it was outside as well, like all different things like that. And then obviously the shoot day, and then also a bit of like retouch. And then he owned John magazine as well, so it was kind of putting things together for that. So was that a similar experience to what you had?
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember sending my CV to Leigh,
Yeah.
thinking like I'm probably not going to hear from him, and then he he reached out to me, and he said, "Hi, Owen. Like, I loved your CV. Would you be up for meeting me?" I think it was like Notting Hill, somewhere like that. I remember it was like winter, and I remember it was really cold and dark. And I met him for like a drink in a bar, and I think he turned up on his bike. Um, but yeah, he came in and he was just lovely, and he was talking to me about or asking me questions about what I did in photography and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he asked me. I remember being really like what's the word, nervous, because he said, "Owen, do you know how to retouch?" And I went, "No," because at uni they didn't really teach me.
So like nothing about Photoshop, only like little bits here and there.
Little bits that, yeah, here and there about Photoshop, but not like the next level,
Yeah. The
So
basics, yeah.
yeah, so I was like, "No, I don't know how to do that." And he was like, "Do you know what? That's fine. I'm going to teach you." And
Nice.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay." And then he was like, "Yeah, I want you to start in January. I normally have my interns for about a month and a bit, and then that's it." And I'm like, "Cool, that's great." And yeah, that's how it started.
Amazing. And
Mm.
then I think you assisted on like more MTV shoots than I did as well. So what were they like?
Yeah, do you know what? I remember with the MTV stuff, it was it was interesting because with the MTV thing, I can't remember which show it was for. X on the Beach or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I remember we were in a studio and there was sand on the floor, and
Right.
we had to put props together to make it look like someone owned these props, basically. So
Mhm.
it'll be like a musty guys, like the weights, the towel, the sunglasses, the
Oh, is this all flat lay?
flat lay. Yeah,
I was there for this one.
you were there because you were really good at it, and I remember being like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Blagging it, I was. Completely blagging it.
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think there was four of us on set,
Yeah, I think so.
four assistants,
I
Leigh.
remember it being really tricky though, because that like the props were quite random at times, like
Yes.
big inflatables and then like tiny like a wallet and stuff like that. But I remember, yeah, it was like trying to create a persona but like out of props, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
A particular person would own these things if they're on holiday. It was like that kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, spot on. And I remember looking at it thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I've never done this kind of stuff before.
Yeah,
And
fair.
I remember looking at Morgan, looking at you, and being like, she knows what she's doing. I'm just going to copy
I'll tell you now, I didn't know. I think I'm quite good at blagging things.
her. Well, yeah, I remember that shoot.
Yeah,
But I also remember Leigh telling me and Lisa, we've got a photo shoot coming up with Ant and Dec.
yeah.
And I remember my heart doing this because obviously Ant and
It's
Dec,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah. And Lisa, she had no idea who Ant and Dec were because Lisa came all the way from Italy.
Uh-huh.
She was like, "Owen, what's an Ant and Dec?" And I remember saying to her, "Lisa, it's two big presenters here," but
Yeah.
she had no clue,
No.
no idea.
So obviously you've worked with quite a few celebs now. Do you think it's better when you actually don't know who they are or when you do know who they are?
It's interesting because there have been times I've met celebrities, I've never seen their work, and so when I photograph them, it's just me. It feels like it's just me hanging out with a mate,
Yeah.
if you know what
Which
I
I think
mean.
is quite a nice way to do it because there's kind of less pressure, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had many of those experiences where you're stuttering and all of that, but maybe with
God,
Ant and Dec.
Ant and Dec, yes, Ant and Dec. I remember really like panicking because I think it was the first time I actually met you as well,
Right.
and then I think the MTV shoot came after. But I remember meeting you, and I remember you were you were Leigh's assistant before me.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying you were giving me tips of working with Leigh and how to retouch. And I was like remembering this, thinking, okay, I've got to remember this because, like, this is going to be me now,
Mhm.
doing all of this work. But yeah, and I remember we were both chatting, and then suddenly Ant and Dec just walked in, and I remember being so shocked seeing them in the flesh.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a really cool shoot, and I learned a lot on that shoot with Leigh because I remember he put like a light up. It was like an octabox up,
Yes.
and I remember you and me, putting it up together. And I remember you actually teaching me how to put up an octabox.
Did I? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. I put
yeah.
it a month before myself.
But I just remember you teaching me, oh, this is an octabox, this is how you do it, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I remember Leigh shot in the studio, but then he also went to go and shoot outside for a
Yes.
little bit. There was a really nice shots of Ant and Dec on like a balcony,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think I was holding the reflector at that point as well.
Nice. Okay, so let's go on then. So obviously you've now gone on to photograph celebs yourself. So how did you reach out to celebs?
Okay, so I remember what happened was I thought, okay, I've done all my assisting stuff. I don't want to do that anymore. I think I've
Mhm.
learned a lot and I want to go off and do things myself now.
Oh,
And so,
actually, before you carry on, how many people roughly did you assist
so
before you
after,
did?
after Leigh,
Hmm.
I think it was two or three more people.
Okay, that's a good
But
number.
yeah, but it was like with Leigh, he was the one that stood out to me
Yeah,
because he was the person, the photographer I really looked up to
yeah,
because I wanted to be where he was.
yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, did you reach out to their like, I don't know, PR or the celebs themselves? How did you go about it?
I didn't really have any celebrities in my portfolio. It was just models,
Yeah.
all models. And I thought, okay, I want to get into the celeb world now. And so what I did was, I knew that I wouldn't be getting people like Rihanna straight away, or like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But I thought I need to reach out to people who are upcoming
Hmm.
and also people who I knew would be an easy target,
Okay.
right? So I reached out to, I remember following the girl group Stussy. Do you remember Stussy?
Yeah, sushi, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember following them and I loved their music. And I remember Karis, one of the girls from the band, was like, I'm making a vlog. I want to do my own blog. Is there a photographer in London who can photograph me?
Was this
And
just on Instagram or
this
something?
was just on, yeah, this was just on Instagram.
Okay, amazing.
And I just DM'd her
Yeah.
and I just said, hi, Karis, I can photograph you. Here's my work. Sent it. And then I think a couple of hours later, she messaged me back and said, love your work. Okay, let's do this.
That is so exciting. How did you feel in that moment?
I remember being just so like shocked and just so happy that I got someone from the music industry,
Yeah.
someone from a group that was still around. Because Stussy, they were in the limelight for not that long, you
Mhm.
know, but people still knew who they were.
Mhm.
And so I was very lucky to grab Karis. And I just remember being over the moon about it. I think I didn't want to tell anyone just in case it didn't happen. I
Yeah.
think the only person I told was my boyfriend,
Mhm.
and then I just thought, let's just see what happens, you know.
So she was your first celeb, and then like
Mm.
how did it evolve from there?
So we did the shoot. I got the photos retouched. Sometimes I retouch the photos myself,
Uh-huh.
but I wanted there are times where I know that there are retouchers out there that have more skills than me, with like adding like the kind of color grading and all that kind of stuff. And with me, I get a bit frustrated with retouching. You know, I'll look at my picture and be like, oh, that's shit. And then just, remove it.
Retouching is not my forte. And I think sometimes as a photographer, I think it's very easy for people to just assume that you retouch your own pictures as well. But sometimes like your skill is actually taking the photos and like doing the lighting, directing, your subject and all of that. Not
Yeah.
necessarily the retouch part.
Yeah.
Even though you might have an idea in your head of what you want it to look like, which sounds like you do. So
Yeah.
you just write down like your notes and give references to the retouchers and kind of let them get on with it.
Yeah. And as this was like my first celebrity photo shoot,
Yeah.
I was like, I can't mess these pictures up.
Yeah.
These pictures need to look expensive. I remember reaching out to a retoucher, bless him, and I remember saying to him, please, can you make my photos look like this? Like, obviously, I showed him the Kylie Jenner mood board, and I was like, please just make sure that everything looks like this. And, he did it. He did a really great job.
Did you get paid for that shoot?
No.
You didn't?
No.
But did you pay for the retouch?
I did.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you've got to do those things though, isn't it? Especially like right at the beginning. It's one of those crap things that like you don't want to do, but you kind of have to do, isn't it? Just to get yourself to that level.
Yeah. Because the thing was, me and Karis met up before the photo shoot and we had a little meeting about everything. And Karis was doing her vlog/blog, from nothing. She didn't have any money to put with it. So she was honest with me and she went, Owen, I can't really pay you. And I said, you know what? This is a really big opportunity for me. You're from Stussy and I really want you in my portfolio. So I was like, I'm happy to do this as a collaboration.
Yeah.
So it was definitely worth it. And I remember with the retouching, I was like, I'm going to have to go into my wallet and spend money on this. But it was so worth it,
Yeah, good. So obviously you did the images just go in her blog? Did it go on socials or like anywhere else?
They went on her blog, they went on Instagram, and I remember getting so much love from it. I remember the two other Stussy members, Courtney and Alex, reached out to me and they were like, these photos are gorgeous. And then I suddenly saw other celebrities that Karis knew was liking, commenting on the pictures. So I was like, okay, this is good. Like, people are recognizing my work, and Karis has got a good following as well, So yeah.
So how did that lead on to more celebs then? Did you start reaching out to her kind of friends, and did it kind of go from there, or?
It was a mixture, really. It was very like people would reach out to me and ask to do a photo shoot with me, but also the people that I wanted, I would reach out to them and just see what happens. I remember DMing Leighton Williams, who was on Strictly last year.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying, like, look, Leighton, I'm a photographer in London. Would you be up for doing a photo shoot? And he was like, yeah, okay. And so, at that time, I was just networking and just taking portraits. And, Leighton and Karis, they brought their own wardrobe, if you know what I mean. I was networking and meeting other makeup artists. And I would ask them, oh, are you interested in putting makeup on Leighton Williams? And they would say, yeah, that'd be great for my portfolio. So it was a lot of collaboration.
Who have you worked with all together now? So obviously Leighton, Stussy, Sugababes, Blue is your most recent, I think.
Yeah, Blue is my most recent.
How was that?
Um,
Tell us about shooting Blue.
it was amazing. It was so, so good.
So jealous.
Yeah, they're such lovely guys. They really like, you know, I always feel like if the talent is nice to you, then
Mhm.
you know that you're gonna have a really good shoot. And when I walked in on set to see Anthony, I walked into his dressing room because I worked with Anthony a few times
Okay, that's cool.
before actually photographing Blue.
I guess
Uh,
that put you at ease a little bit, did it? Because you kind of knew one of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I walked in and Anthony went, "You're right, Owen," straight away. And then he was sitting next to Simon, and Anthony introduced me to Simon, and then I got to meet Leigh, and and again I worked with Leigh. I worked with Leigh a few years ago, maybe 2018, 2019. So Leigh recognised me, and then I got to meet Duncan, and
Nice.
they were just all lovely guys, and they really, really care about you.
Oh,
It's so
that's so good.
nice. Yeah.
Amazing. So, Sugababes, tell us about how that one came about.
Okay. So with the Sugababes, I've always been a massive fan of the girls. Like, absolutely love the girls so much. So when they reunited back in 2012, 2013, they were known as MKS, Mutya, Keisha, Siobhan, because at that time they weren't allowed to have their original name back,
Hmm.
just for like some legal reasons. I remember it was like 2013, and I was at Bath around that time, and the girls were touring the UK. And I remember they were coming to Bristol. So I remember going to Bristol with who was it? My boyfriend and Lucy. I think that was it. It was just the three of us, and we watched the show. Actually, sorry, no, before that. Sorry, because
Right.
I've got so much happened. We actually went with another friend called Nikki as well. So there was the four of us, and me and Nikki turned up to the venue quite early. And I was like, okay, like we still got to wait. How about we go to the pub across the road? So me and Nikki went over, and I remember walking past the window, and I just saw Mutya in there,
Oh, wow.
and I went, Nikki, Mutya is in there, and Nikki was like, okay, I think we should go in, and like just act normal. And at that time, I was wearing a MKS t-shirt,
Brilliant. So,
right?
so
Literally,
simple.
literally. So then I just walked into the pub, and I walked past her and smiled, and she saw my t-shirt, and she went, "Hello," and I went, "Hi," and she's like, "You seeing me tonight?" And I went, "Yeah," and I said to her, can I have a photo with you?" And she went, "Yeah, of course." So I
Oh,
remember we've got this photo, and I was just over the moon to meet Mutya, right? And I said to her, "Look, I'm a photographer. You know, I'd love to photograph you one day." And she was like, yeah, we can definitely make that happen. For sure. And then I left her to it because she was with a friend. So I didn't want to fangirl too much. And then we saw the show, and then I followed Mutya on Instagram after the show, and I think I just said it was a great night. Thank you so much. You know, it was lovely meeting you. And then she got back to me, and she was like, "Yeah, it was lovely meeting you too." Whatever. Years later, I moved to London, and around that time, I think MKS went a bit quiet, and I just thought, you know what, this might be a good time to reach out to Mutya. So I reached out to her and I went, "Hi Mutya, do you remember me? I met you just before the Bristol gig." And she was like, "Yeah, I remember you. I remember you so well." And I said, "Oh, would you be up for doing a photo shoot with me? Maybe we can do like a beauty shoot." And she was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
oh,
And
she sounds
so
lovely. I
she
love how like open and up for a shoot she was.
She is amazing. And the thing about Mutya is that she loves people. So Anyway, I remember Mutya arriving at my flat because at that time, living in London's so expensive
Of course.
and I couldn't afford to have like my own studio. So I said to her, "Oh, do you mind coming to my flat? Because, that's the only place I can
Mm.
shoot at. And we're going to do like, beauty shots."
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I said, just bring 3 different wigs and we'll work with them and I'll get a makeup artist and a hairstylist will like, style your hair. And she's like, "That sounds great." So then Mutya turned up with her nieces, 2 nieces, and her
Right.
sister. And I was so nervous to see Mutya because,
Yeah, I bet. And
I
in
was
your books as well.
exactly. And so I was so nervous and I was just like, "Oh my God, I've got a Sugababe in my flat." And we did the shoot and Mutya just loved it. She was so happy with the photos and she was so easy to work with because, she gets photographed loads of
Yeah,
times.
of course.
So she was just a pro with the camera, you
Great.
know.
Yeah, that made it so much easier for you as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so the photos came out really well. I said to her, like, "Do you want to pick?" She went, "No, you pick them. It's your shoot. You pick them." And I was like, "Oh God, okay." Because every single shot was just like amazing, 10 out of 10. So I remember struggling to think which ones am I going to use for the final shots. And luckily we got there. I just sent them to Mutya and then she posted them on
Amazing.
Instagram and that was that. So we had that that connection and we just stayed in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Um
That, yeah, because you shoot with her and the other girls quite a lot now, don't you?
yeah. So I shot with Mutya a lot of times between the year 2017 to like 2020. We were always doing a photo shoot together. It was beauty. Then she asked me to come on location when she was doing a music video. And so it's a lot of back and forth, which is great. And then, yeah, Keisha then reached out to me and she was like, "Love your work. We have to do something soon." And I was like, "Okay, all right." Getting another Sugababe involved was just great. And then, and then with Keisha, we did a photo shoot in 2020. And I think it was just when we came out of the first lockdown. And me and Keisha, again, Keisha was doing vlogs and everything. And she wanted to vlog about doing a photo shoot with me.
Oh, amazing.
So I'm on Keisha's YouTube channel somewhere,
Yeah.
photographing her. And then, yeah. And then what happened? We did the shoot. And then I asked her, I just said, "Look, Keisha, if you and the girls ever come back again, would you mind if I just do one photo shoot with you and just
Mm-hmm.
say, that I photographed the Sugababes?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm sure I can make that happen." So that was
And
really,
it
really
has
good.
now, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
so good. No, you've done amazing with, getting all these people on board and just like smashing the photos as well. Who have you not worked with that is kind of on your bucket list? Who do you really want to work with that you haven't yet?
Oh my God, there's so many people. There's so many people. I think I love to photograph like Dua Lipa.
She would be insane. I want to talk about Revamp as well because I think is part of the reason that you started Revamp to kind of help you get more celebs in your book as well, because I guess it's a bit of a reason to have a magazine.
Do you know what? Before Revamp, I was, photographing celebrities left, right, and centre. And then with Revamp, I guess a little bit, but it was mainly because I wanted a platform for talents and creatives to speak.
Hmm.
Um, because throughout the years I've been living in London, I got to learn about the magazine world. And, being friends with celebrities, I just kept on hearing, oh, I wasn't happy with my cover. And I kept on saying, why? Because you looked absolutely gorgeous on the cover. And they were like, yeah, but the magazine never got to ask me, or like I never got to pick the final images.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting, because I know that magazines have the right to like choose whatever they want as their cover, but I'm also thinking, but you are putting someone's face on a cover of a magazine. And plus, I knew so many independent artists and artists that were upcoming that were struggling to get their name in magazines because they didn't have many followers. And I just thought, that's really sad that that these magazines will only let people in with the amount of followers they have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So during lockdown, I was just thinking, what can I do to help this? And I was talking to like my close friend Edie, because she's in the fashion industry, and I just said, I want to change something. I want to revamp something. And then Edie went, "That's your name.
That's the
That's
name.
the name of the magazine." And I
Love
was like, okay. And I remember thinking, well, revamp sounds a bit like too harsh. I don't know what it was. I felt like the name was too harsh. Where like John and Wonderland magazines are very like, like delicate,
Yeah.
But I did feel like, okay, revamp sounds a bit like too harsh. But then I just got used to it.
Yeah, you wanted
And
to shake it up. I get it though. So it does kind of fit with what you're doing though in the
mm,
magazine. So
yeah.
if you want to really explain, I guess, what type of things you'd find in Revamp, what would it be?
Okay, so in Revamp, we've got a little bit of everything really. So we've got interviews with people from TV, film, music. We also interview small businesses and like creatives, like artists, just to give people a platform to speak and talk about their talent. We're also talking about fashion and I've got a friend called Charlotte, who's a stylist, and she will go to like Fashion Week for Revamp now,
Oh,
which
amazing.
is great. So yeah, it's a little sprinkle of everything, and we interview upcoming musicians, and we also interview musicians that are currently in the industry, but also talk to people that have been in the industry for decades, and that they've taken a step back.
So you're obviously the founder, but also the editor-in-chief, right?
Yeah, so
What
founder
does
and
that actually mean? What does an editor-in-chief do?
I'm still like learning about it, but I've got an amazing friend and also work colleague. Her name's Pankuri. She is the digital editor of the magazine. So what I see that is that we're both running Revamp together, but she would always double check with me if it's okay before we release something or we say yes to something. So, I just make sure that Revamp is looking good, it's flowing, we're releasing stories that we love. That's it, really. But, I'm still learning these things about being an editor. Sometimes I'll like be watching music videos and I'll suddenly see Steps and I'm like, oh my God, I wonder what Leigh from Steps is doing now.
Yeah.
So I'll find him on like Instagram, and I would message him and just say, look, I'm Owen, I've got a magazine, would you be interested? Sometimes they say no, thank you for thinking of me. But sometimes they'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll have a little interview with you.
I love how bold you are just to message them on Instagram. I think how amazing is it that we have like the opportunity to do that these days? Because obviously, like we've grown up in the generation that's not always had an iPhone around.
I know, I
So
know.
it's just insane that like you can go and message someone like a celeb and then them actually reply to you. I just
Yeah,
think that's amazing. Do you ever get celebs not replying to you?
yeah,
Yeah.
I do, but I just think one, my message has probably gone to their request folder, and they
Yes.
probably don't read those. Two, I know a lot of celebs will have like social media people that will
Yeah,
run their
that's true.
accounts. So there's stuff like that. But and then there'll be the odd celeb that will just read it and just won't reply. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. Whatever.
How do you deal with that? Rejection, is that the right word? But
Do
not
you know,
always sort of getting a reply or people saying no. How do you deal with it?
I basically, I'll just for a second I'll be like, oh, they didn't reply to me. But then I'll just like move on from it because there's other things to focus on, you know. And
Hmm.
I always say now, what will be will be,
Hmm.
and I believe that. I don't force anything, and I keep saying to Pancuri, look, I know that this PR has reached out to us about having this talent, but what will be will be. If they don't get back to us,
Wasn't meant to be.
yeah, it wasn't meant to be.
How have you built up your network of like the team you work with, so stylists, hair, makeup? How have you, got to know those people? Is that all through Instagram as well?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was through Instagram and networking, and
amazing.
also people recommending people as well. Because there was a time or a couple of times where I would reach out to a stylist friend and
Hmm.
say, "Hi, would you be interested in helping on this revamp shoot?" And then they'll say, "Owen, I can't make that date, but I've got a friend who might be interested." And then I got to meet them. Plus, yeah, it is Instagram because I would see who my other photographer friends are working with. And so I would just follow the people that they're working with, like the stylist and the makeup artist, etc.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
so good. And do you put calls out on Instagram like need a hair and makeup artist for this day because your normal team can't help you out? Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I do that, and I also think assisting work, the Instagram, that has helped me out a lot.
Amazing. Is
Yeah.
that at assisting work, just that handle?
Yeah, so what I do is I will put out what I need, like looking for hairstylist, paid shoot, and then I'll say something like in South London, and then I'll at assisting underscore work, tag
Hmm.
them, and then
Hmm.
what they do is that Instagram will reshare it, and then give it what half an hour, you'll suddenly start getting DMs from
Amazing.
hairstylists.
That's so good.
Yeah,
And
really good.
is that for all kinds of work, like collaborations,
Mhm.
unpaid, as well as paid work as well?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So is that one of the things that you recommend to people just trying to like build a
100%.
team?
Yeah. I've got an intern. I had 2 interns the other day for a photo shoot,
Hmm.
and they were learning. They're both at university, and I told one of my interns, "You need to go and follow assisting work." And they were, like, on it straight away. And, assisting work is amazing because it really does help you out with
Yeah.
finding people, and networking.
Yeah. That's so good. Because, like you said, do they just repost your story or something on their page and then that obviously
Yeah,
reaches a wider audience then?
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
No, that's so good. Okay, cool. So, what are the types of fashion brands and beauty brands that you've been working with? I think before this you said um, there was was it like a leather jackets type of company you've been working with?
Yeah, so I've been working with a lot of upcoming brands. So there's an amazing skincare brand called Face Junkie, and Hide and Skin. They are a leather jacket brand.
Do you have like a preference that you prefer? Do you prefer like the celeb stuff or the fashion or the beauty? Or do you like just doing it all?
I love doing it all. It's nice to have a mixture of things to do, because I'm that kind of person where I get bored quite easily. So if I kept on doing fashion, I know, knowing me, that I'll just start getting bored of it. But, there'll be my days on photo shoots change every day. There's always something new. Even my intern that I've got, she was like, Owen, I'm learning like different things every day. And I'm like, yeah, like this is the industry that I'm in. Like,
Yeah, it's so fast paced, like it's just
yeah,
the new is out all the time, isn't it?
yeah. Like, on Monday I was photographing Face Junkie, the skincare brand, with just a couple of models. And then the next day I'm photographing a DJ.
Completely different.
And then it's, the other day, then the day after that, I'll be photographing a drag queen on RuPaul's Drag Race. So it changes all the time, which I
How
love.
often are you actually on the photo shoots these days?
I would do photo shoots like 3 or 4 days a week.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, but I have to make sure that I have days where I'm retouching, like tomorrow. And I've also got days where I'm socializing with like friends
Yeah,
and stuff.
actually living your life, not just working all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about like prep days, like mood boarding and that kind of stuff? How often do you get to do that?
I do that. God, I do it when I'm retouching,
Okay.
on my retouching days. So that's the thing with me. I have like, is it short attention span? Where I'll be retouching 2 or 3 images, and then when I get to the third image, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is too boring. I need to focus on something else.
So
Then
do a
I'll,
couple of hours of that and then go back.
yeah,
I
yeah. So then I'll go back to, so then I'll start, researching for my upcoming photo shoots and create mood boards and Pinterest and just get everything together,
Yeah.
But then there'll be times where I'll probably get one shoot and I'll feel really like down. But then a good photographer that I know of, he said to me, Owen, whenever you get days like that, just remember, those days are for resting, and just take it as like, granted, basically, to rest and don't stress. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that's it really.
Do you use like your home as a studio anymore, or do you shoot mostly in external studios?
It depends, really. It depends with the client. So on Tuesday, I'm photographing this upcoming musician, and it's just him. So I thought, do you know what? We're gonna shoot in my flat. One, because it's your first photo shoot, I want you to feel comfortable. So I feel like when they're in my flat, it's like, okay, I'm in someone's home, and I can just relax and be myself, whatever. So yeah, so I'm doing a photo shoot in my flat on Tuesday. I've got all my backdrops and lights here that I can just put up and all that stuff. But then there will be days where if I know it's a really big team, then we'll have to go to a studio in London somewhere. Yeah.
And you said you work with your own interns now. How do you find those people?
With the interns,
Yeah.
I love them. I want to make sure that they have a really, really fun time with me. And every time I finish a photo shoot, I say, right, guys, ask me questions. And then, they'll ask me, when you did this, what does that do? They always ask me these little questions. What light were you using? All that kind of stuff. And I always want to make sure that they are learning something, because I just want to make sure that they get something out of it.
Yes, what they're there for, isn't it? Is to learn.
Yeah.
How many interns do you normally work with?
Normally 1 or 2.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
change them as frequently as Leigh did, or are they with you for a little bit longer?
It depends, really. It depends how long they want to stay with me for, and plus it's with it's normally interns that are at uni, so it really, really changes.
Yeah, it depends. And do
Yeah,
they get in touch with you as well?
yeah, they get in touch with me. Yeah,
Instagram?
Instagram. Yeah,
So speaking of, where can people find you? What's your Instagram handle?
my Instagram handle is at Owen James Vincent, and you can also find me and my work and my magazine at revamp_mag.
Amazing. So before we go, what are your say top 3 tips for everyone listening who's trying to break into the industry?
One, you should network. Go out and meet people. Here's a really good example about networking. I photographed an amazing dancer called Stephen Walker years and years ago. This was like 2016. And we did a photo shoot together, and he just kept on saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm a dancer. I've danced with Girls Aloud." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm really good friends with Nadine Coyle." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Anyway, Stephen stayed in touch with me. 2 years later, he calls me up and says, "Hi, Owen. I'm looking after Nadine Coyle. Do you want to photograph her?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like,
Of course.
"Of course I want to photograph Nadine Coyle." And I just thought, you know what? It was because of networking. And he remembered me.
It's always about who you know. And I
Yeah.
think with networking, it's important to mention as well that, okay, yeah, you can go and meet all the people that you want, but you've got to be a nice person for someone to remember you and
Oh,
reach back out to you
100%.
and keep in touch and keep you in their mind so that things like that happen.
Yeah, that's so true because you know, I always like to make sure that every time someone steps on one of my shoots that they have a really fun time with me and
Mm-hmm.
that we always have a laugh. And that's what happens, and the industry is so small.
Oh my
Pe-
gosh, yeah.
People know each other. There will be a mutual friend, that will know you,
Definitely.
So yeah, I always think just be yourself and be nice to people. You just do you know what they're going through? Just yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
Okay, so
Um,
network and be nice. What else?
Network and be nice, and don't take yourself too seriously. And what I mean by that is there are going to be times where you're going to get rejected, and just think like, okay, they've rejected me. That didn't work out for me, but something else will. You know, there have been times I got rejected by so many magazines, and I thought, okay, it just wasn't my time. But I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to do my own thing. And that's what I sort of did with Revamp. I've worked for so many magazines and everything, but then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Definitely. No, I
yeah.
definitely agree with that. Don't take it too personally if someone says no. There's
Mm.
another opportunity out there for you.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely. Amazing. And as well, I'm quite interested because obviously you did go to uni, but do you think that was really important, or do you think it is important for people these days trying to become a photographer to actually go and do uni, or do you think you can kind of still do the same thing without that piece of education?
Oh my god, do you want me to be honest?
Yeah, go for it.
I personally think I'm really glad that I've got a degree right behind me,
Hmm.
under my belt, whatever. But I learned so much more when I was assisting. Like Leigh taught me a lot.
Yeah.
He he
I
taught he taught me about Capture One.
hmm
He taught me about the lenses. He taught me about how to speak to celebrities.
Yeah.
That
Retouching.
retouching. He taught me a lot. And I learned so much of him than what I did at uni. And I feel bad saying that, but
No, but do you know what? I loved my uni experience, and I've got some amazing friends from my time at uni. But I always say if I was to go back, I wouldn't go again. I would just go straight in. I'd move to London and assist from that age
I
because,
know.
I mean, my
Same.
career would probably be different to it is now. So I don't know, if that's better or worse. But
Mm,
it's I don't think you need that degree, do you, to go and be a photographer. You learn a lot from just
yeah.
assisting people,
Oh, 100.
just doing it yourself.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, there's also, there is assisting people, but I also learn things from YouTube as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
We got someone from The Little Mermaid, the live action, for Revamp, and I was talking to the stylist, and she was like, right, Owen, we've got one of like Ariel's sisters. They're a mermaid in the film. I think we need to do like an underwater kind of lighting. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was thinking, how the hell am I going to do this?
I know.
So I just Googled and researched everything. And luckily I found this like kind of like metallic material that was shiny. And I just reflected it on the model and it looked like she was underwater.
Amazing. You've got to figure it out sometimes. Like, I'm sure on your shoots there's a lot of like DIY at times.
Oh my God, yeah.
Window light comes to mind for me. Who actually shoots that through a window? You shoot it through a cardboard cutout, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. God.
Yeah, it's a lot of tricks
Yeah.
in photography, but I love that. It keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so good to chat to you and talk to you about everything that you've been doing. And like I said, like, you've been doing amazing, and I love the magazine.
Thank you so much for having me.
No,
It was really fun to talk to you, and I think what you're doing is amazing. Letting like creatives speak and talk about the industry. I think this is what we need. So
thank you so much again, and yeah, we'll speak soon.
thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Get to Know. I hope you loved my chat with Owen as much as I did. It was so interesting to find out how he started connecting with celebs via Instagram, and that's now his main source of networking and gaining clients. If you loved this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you would rate, review, and subscribe. If you want to learn more, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at the Get to Know Podcast. And I'll catch you the same time next week, where I'm getting to know Amy Jakes and her exciting life as a shopping editor at Heat & Closer magazine. If you're a shopaholic or celeb lover, you'll want to tune in for this one.